Hey everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Visual Data Structures. Today we'll learn what arrays are, when and how they're used, and why they're one of the most used data structures in the programming world. So let's get started. In computer science, an array is a data structure consisting of a collection of elements. If you watch my previous episode that introduced variables, you can think of an array as a collection of variables. We deal with collections every day. Think about a grocery list or a to-do list. Arrays are a pretty similar concept. They can be used to store data of several types, such as numbers, characters, or even words in a specific order. If you watch my previous video about variables, you'll probably remember what we're trying to build, a grocery list. We use several variables to store the names of the items that we wanted to get at the supermarket. Did you feel that it was a bit inconvenient and repetitive to write all these variables? Let's see how arrays can improve that. Let's take, for example, a list with 5 elements declared in 5 different variables. Item 1, item 2, and so on, like we did in the first video. As we've seen, each of these values get randomly assigned to a cell on the computer memory. But another approach we can take is to declare an array with size 5, named grocery array. Here you can see that the type of the variable is no longer just a string, but it's an array of strings. So what's interesting is that after declaring the array, the computer reserved 5 units of memory next to each other. The first element is next to the second to the third, and so on. At the beginning, those cells won't contain any values. You can think of them as reserved spots that are ready to be used. In this case, if we want to write some values, we do not need to create a variable every time. We just call our array variable, which is called grocery array, and index it by adding the position that we want to write into. For example, by calling grocery list of 0, we can write in the first element of the array. In this case, let's put the word milk. If we call grocery list of 1, which is the second element of the array, we can put another word, which in this case will be cereals. Then in grocery list of 2, we write apples, and we'll do the same for honey and milk, and they will be on the 4th and on the 5th position of the array. One fundamental thing to keep in mind about computer science is that everything starts from 0. In this case, our first element is at the 0 index in the array, and the last element will be on the 4th index. With this, once at the grocery store, you'll be able to get all the groceries you need to buy just by reading all the elements here stored in the array, without having to remember all the variables that contain some grocery items. Also, do you remember how each variable was stored using its location in memory? For array, things are a bit different. The only thing the computer really needs to know is the location of the first element and the length of the array. If I want the first element, which is a grocery list of 0, the computer will just check for the array location. If I want the second element, the computer will simply take the previous location and check for the element next to it. Same for the third element, where it will again get the memory location of the first element of the array and add 2. Because of the proximity of the elements, arrays are a great data structure for reading data, due to how fast the elements can be found. In computer science, this is defined as constant time. If this is new to you, do not worry. It simply means that the speed to read an element from the array is constant, no matter how many elements there are in the array. This is true because to get the value of an element of the array, the computer only needs to get the starting cell of the array, add the index of the value we're looking for, and then read what's inside that cell. This operation takes the same amount of time whether we're reading the third element of the array, or the 10th element, or potentially an array with millions of elements, and just to get the last one. What happens if we try to access the 6th element? Well, in that case, the computer will throw an error, since we're trying to access a spot that wasn't reserved by the array. So, arrays look incredible. They're fast and handy, but can you see what's the weak point? The main problem with arrays is that you have to decide their size beforehand. So in our example, we decided to create an array with 5 elements for our grocery list. And as we've seen, trying to access the 6th element resulted in an error. But what if, while writing our grocery list, we found out we need more space for some other items? Well, this depends on the programming language you're using, but in most of the cases, you have to create a new array with a bigger size. This is a long operation because you have to copy all the elements from the previous array and put them into the new one. This is exactly what a linear operation is. In simple terms, it means that for each element you have, you'll spend some time to perform the operation. So the big picture is that the more elements you have, the longer it will take to execute the operation. This operation will be much faster on an array with 5 elements than on an array with 1,000,000 of elements. So that's all for this video about arrays. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please subscribe to the channel. If you have any question, do not hesitate and put them in the comment section below.